Why do I have my headphones on? I'm not shooting LPs right now. Hello there, writer friend. Welcome back to Max's Writer's Life Vlogs, brought to you every week on Friday, where I talk about my writing process, what I've been up to this week, and I offer writing advice and inspiration along the way. I do have a pretty interesting subject that we're going to be talking about relatively soon, so let's dive right in. Also, you probably can't tell, but I'm wearing my now favorite Cookie Cat shirt. Man, adorable. I never thought you would be evil! Oh god, Steven Universe. Anyhow, what was I up to this week? I spent it mostly doing the finalizing steps on the release of a book! I released a book this week! I released the third book of my serialized cyberpunk novel, Mercenary Hearts, titled A Diamond Reflection. And I haven't been sleeping a lot, mostly because release schedules are super hectic. If you'd like to find out more about that book series, they're available on Amazon. And I also have a little bit of my hair is being really silly. I have a bit of a special offer, I guess, on my Patreon page. Anyone who pledges $3 a month this month can get all 3 volumes in multiple formats and DRM free. But anyhow, that's all businessy stuff. Not very exciting. I released a book. That's mildly exciting. That story's moving forward, and it's funny because we have finally hit the point where I can't tell you anything about what's happening in this volume because it spoils the previous volume. But yeah, that's pretty much my week. I just spent it publishing, doing all the finalizing stuff. Other than that, I've been working on my Finish It challenge. If you don't know, it's a little challenge I gave myself to see how many things I could finish in 2016. Right now, I am actually playing through Fire Emblem Awakening. That game is really tight. Man, that game is really tight. If you would like to hear more about me playing that game and all the silly characters that I'm playing, I'm maining Donald. That's how ridiculous this freaking LP is. It's not an LP, I'm just playing the game formally. But you can, I've been posting pictures and silly comments on my Twitter, @Mr. Kirin. Go give me a follow if you want to. If you don't, that's okay. I totally understand. But anyhow, I will talk more about Fire Emblem in due time. For the time being, let's dive right into the meat and potatoes of today's video. So, not so long ago, I received a question, and it's one of those really big questions that absolutely must have a moment in the spotlight so that I can talk about it and talk a little bit about the idea of bad, or rather just ineffective writing advice. But let's just take it from the top. The question goes a little bit like this. So I just came across this piece of writing advice on Tumblr, and I was wondering if maybe you could pick it up in a video and give us your take on it. Basically, this piece of advice said not to edit, but to rewrite. Like, completely. Print out the whole thing or work off a second screen and type it up from the ground up all over again, once or several more times, word for word, making the changes as you rewrite it. It also said this was the only way to get your story to a publishable level. You can't see me, but I'm holding quotation fingers right now. Which according to this piece of advice, you'll never achieve by only editing. If you're serious about getting it professionally published. Needless to say, that sounds a bit opinionated, but also scary if it's true. Alright, let's take it from the top. Before we even talk about the advice that was put forward, let's take a moment and tackle the first problem that presented itself through this question. Here's a little bit of writing/life advice, okay? There are no rules to how writing is done, the same way that there are no rules to how life is done. People will go out and tell you that there's, like, if you want to be successful, you gotta do X, and if you want to be happy, you have to do Y, and all of these things are ultimately just people's points of view. That's why whenever I shoot a video, I make it a point to not only give you a disclaimer, but also phrase my advice so that you know it is only my advice and my point of view, because that's what it is. Whenever you hear someone's advice, whether it is on writing or life, how to do your hair, whatever it is, whenever somebody gives you advice, analyze it, analyze what they're trying to tell you, and ask yourself, do I want to add this tool to my toolbox, whether it is my writer's toolbox or just my general life's toolbox, the way I go about doing things. Analyze it. If you like it, keep it. If you don't like it, if it doesn't resonate positively with the way you believe and look at the world, toss it. Why? We are all carrying enough baggage as it is. I don't need to be hauling around bad pieces of advice that I've heard over the years, and I've heard a lot of them. So, with that being said, now that I've given you my little disclaimer there, let us now dive right in and actually talk about the question at hand. Once again, we are returning to the question for the ages, revision versus rewrite. And let me take it from the top. Again, the following is my advice and nothing else but my advice. Feel free to adapt it, change it, twist it, do whatever you want with it. It's not mine, it's yours. Now, the biggest problem that I have when I'm revising a story is that I want to stay on edge. I want to be able to always look at my story objectively and look for things to fix. Look for changes in the tone, look for holes in the story, look to question the characters' motives, and so forth. The hardest way to do that, the easiest way to sabotage yourself is to read your story over and over and over again. Why? Because if you read your story over and over and over and over again, you start memorizing it. And when you memorize a story, you're not looking for mistakes anymore. You basically stop looking for things to fix and you just read your story. You just take out your punch card, punch in your time, read the story X amount of times and clock out. Not very effective. My solution for this particular problem was to change the way in which I read my story. If you have heard me in the past, then I'll tell you right now, I don't just read it on my computer. I actually have a whole collection of different methods that I use for reading my story. Why? So that my brain doesn't do its silly thing and start memorizing the story. I think I only read it on the computer like once or twice, I think at the beginning and at the end. I also use text-to-speech to hear the story and listen for it. It's really good for spotting missing words. I also read it out loud, which is one of the most fun and entertaining parts of the process because it really brings out when you have stilted or stiff dialogue. Because fun fact, if it sounds bad when you're reading it out loud, it's not going to read so well when the reader is reading it on the page. And one more thing that I like to do is that I also like to just read it on my phone or read it on a tablet, read it on a different surface with a different font and a different text alignment so that my brain is not trying to memorize it and that I can stay on edge and keep looking for things to fix. Those are the ways that I've devised to make the revision process the most effective for me, so that I can make the best story possible, because that's what we're doing here, right? When you sit down to revise your story, you want it to be the best it can possibly be. One of those things that I don't particularly feel is really effective is just to sit down and write it again. Forget about how long it's going to take you to write it again. I've done it in the past, and to me, being honest with myself, because that's the sort of person that I am, I was just memorizing the story. I was moving it from one container to the next. Like, I hate to be like this, but I feel that this is one of those things that has lingered on from a different time, because rewriting your story is what you did before the days of word processors. Back before you couldn't actually just rewrite one part of your manuscript, you had to rewrite the whole thing in one go. Again, I tried it in the past, it wasn't very effective, and I felt that I was just utilizing my time unwisely. Then again, there may be writers out there that do it. It's not me, and I sure ain't going to be selling my advice as the one way that you need to be revising your story if you are serious about publishing. Advice is a very silly thing. What I need you to take from this video is this, okay? Writing is one of those crafts in which no one ever becomes master. No matter how much time passes, if you keep your head from blowing itself out of proportion, you will always be on the lookout for learning new ways to do things, new ways to improve, and new ways to see how you can change your writing. Go out and look for advice, as you're doing right now by watching this video, and analyze the tools that are being handed to you. If this tool does not resonate with you, toss it away. If you think you can do it better, twist it and change it. And if you find a better way to do things, let me know, because I'm on the lookout to see how things change and develop. For this particular thing on editing, honestly, with my personal experience, I don't particularly see how spending all of that time rewriting your story would be more effective than just sitting down and hard focusing on looking for things to change in your story. And it's just my point of view, it's just how I feel about things. Again, take all of this and any advice that you see out in the world, even those by the people who claim to be giving you the 5 golden rules to writing. If you don't do this, you will never be published ever, 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 ever. All of these people, we're all just giving you our advice, our point of view, our perspective in this world, and nothing else. Okay? Okay, and that's about it for today's episode. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me once again this Friday. I would like to know how your week has been. Have you been writing? Have you been editing? What do you think about rewrite versus revision? Remember, we're all different writers, and if you have a point of view that is starkly different to mine, that's okay by me. We're all different writers in this silly craft that is writing. For the time being, thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll see you on the next one.